I'm Mike. I'm the director of demand gen here at Amelia, and Walter is our content specialist who's done some great work conducting this research, collating the results, and today. Before we get going, some housekeeping. So all attendees are automatically mute. So if there's anything going on in the background, a barking dog, a crying child, a snowplow going past your house, don't worry, we can't hear that. Audio is available by computer and phone. So if you use the internet, there's a number in the email that you got sent where you can dial in. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. Walter and I have spent a lot of time working on this research, working with the data. If you do have any questions, we would love to hear them. We will either have the answer or it will inform subsequent studies like this. But please do so using the Q&A function so we can keep them in order and keep the flow going, which leaves the chat open, which is the fourth point. The chat's going to be open all the way through for just whatever you want, any comments. If you see someone you know in the audience who want to say hi, like keep that sort of organic, free and easy place. The Q&A function is where the real action happens. So a little bit about Amelia. We consider ourselves the smartest and easiest way to offer, manage, and sell activities online for your Parks and Recreation department. We're a recreation management software. You can list all of your programs. You can offer memberships. You can sell merch, whatever you want. You can manage your facilities. We pride ourselves on being very easy to use for your participants, your citizens. Very easy to use for your admins. We make a lot of their jobs easy to do. Our platform is built on modern best practices. Our data is clean. We have started open API so we can integrate with your current tech stack. And finally, I believe that we're just a lovely company to work with. We really appreciate the work that people do in the Parks and Rec segment. We understand what a special bunch you all are. We are really honored to be supporting the work that you do. But that's the last I'm going to talk about Amelia or the product. When I hear that today, you can talk to someone after if you want more information. If you want to learn more about this study in particular, you can go to amelia.com/library. I'm not sure why Julie put my face so squarely in the middle of that slide. But all of the content that you see here is available in a downloadable ebook form. So if you want to go and take a look at the data in a little bit more detail, circulate it around your friends, you can find it in our library. And lastly, before I pass it over to Walter, a little bit about the two of us. So I've been Amelia for nearly 2.5 years. This is probably like my 15th maybe webinar. I often do them with Christine's. I've seen this before. I'm British, Vietnam, and I love talking about the weather and showing snowflakes on webinars apparently. Walter, a little word from yourself?
Yeah, I'm actually, this is my first webinar, so you'll have to excuse me if there's a couple of points of me struggling with the technicalities here. I've only been with Amelia for about 6 months now, but I've learned quite a bit since I've been here, and one of the major projects that I've gotten to work on is this ebook and this accompanying webinar. So I'm from Montreal, born and raised. And yeah, I'm excited to share this with you guys today. I don't want to go into too much background here. I do have a background in journalism and professional writing, and I've worked in marketing for other large companies. But this is a pretty unique company as far as others that I've worked for so far. And today we'll be sharing. Do you want to just go into the first slide, Mike?
Sure. How's the sound for everyone else? It is, so which is the first slide? Here we go. How's the sound for everybody else? I'm having a bit of trouble, but it's probably my end. You all good?
I can hear you okay.
Yeah? Okay, great. Well, it's my computer that's the issue then, so I won't worry too much. Take it away, Walter. Off you go.
Okay, so we conducted this survey to gather insights and from millennial parents on their participation in and their attitudes towards local recreation programming, ultimately revealing the significant impact that these activities have on the overall well-being for millennial parents across the United States. We issued this survey in October of 2024. So when you see things like, what they'll be planning on doing next year, that's kind of referring to 2025, the year we're in now. So when people say that they want to do more next year, we're talking, that's the present time. It went out to approximately 250 people. We had crafted the questions in a way to glean the most information that we could. And it's divided up into three sections with some key statistics and insights along the way. And without further ado, I think we should just jump into it, Mike.
Oh.
So the main results of this, on a very high level, is that overall the data and trends outlined in the survey resulted, and the results present a compelling case for the continued growth, relevance, and importance of local recreation programming and community centers in the lives of millennial parents and their families, which includes spouses and children. These predictions pave the way for an increasingly vibrant, connected, and engaged community built on the foundation of accessible and diverse recreational opportunities for all. And what you'll see as a through line throughout this piece is that there seems to be, in general, a high level of enthusiasm amongst millennial parents for participating in community center activities and ultimately wanting to participate in more in the future. So, so everything is really looking great in terms of that. And what you're going to see now is this sort of a breakdown of some more specific elements of that participation. Next slide, please, Mike. So these are key statistics from throughout the survey in regards to opinions and attitudes. And these are the three sections ultimately of the survey: opinions and attitudes, knowledge and use of local facilities, and preference for recreational programming. In regards to opinions and attitudes, we found that 73% of millennial parents indicated they'd be spending more time engaging in local recreation programming or activities than they had the previous year. In regards to the knowledge and use of local facilities, 88% of respondents expressed that it is a core responsibility of their local municipality to provide programs and activities aimed at the whole family. So not just for parents, not just for kids, but something that the families can participate in altogether, if not at different times. And perhaps most impressive is that 90% of respondents said that having all processes such as registration, payments, and forms together in one place was something that was important for them in regards to what they were looking for out of a community center, which is ultimately where you'll see where Amelia and Smart Rec will come in, but more on that later. Next slide, please, Mike. And Mike, feel free to jump in whenever you'd like here.
Yeah, we'll after this slide, I think.
Sure. In terms of implications, overarching implications and recommendations from this study, we found that there was strong interest and enthusiasm amongst millennial parents in participating in local recreation programs, and that's at present. That the majority of them engage frequently and express intent to increase that involvement in the future, as mentioned. Preferences for diverse offerings and family-friendly activities. So not just activities for the whole family, but in terms of cultural and athletic and educational and artistic programs. And that there is a high level of trust in community centers for promoting healthy living and enhancing family connections.
Yeah, thanks so much. I think to situate this in some of the other studies that we've been doing, this kind of continues a trend that we've been seeing since COVID, right? By the way, is the sound better? Can Erica, you mentioned that you were having trouble hearing me. Can you hear me better now? We've seen a trend happening since COVID where people are doing more activities and they want to do more. But what we're also seeing is that people want these activities and these recreation things to happen in the community, right? To be situated in a community center where lots of people come together and do shared activities. That sense of community is increasingly important. And what's really interesting about this study, we found that people are increasingly looking to their local government to provide that. I think they realize that the market is not necessarily going to serve them in the way that they want, so looking to local authorities to provide. And then that last point about processes all in one place, we actually found that clunky processes and bad websites, etc., were one of the main blockers to participation in another study that we're working on for I think is it next month or whatever. So everything kind of fits, and we're seeing all of these trends especially strong in the millennial parents age group. Walter?
Thanks, Mike. Can we get to continuing on the implications and recommendations that came out of the study, we also saw that millennial parents tend to prioritize cleanliness and easy sign-up process, as Mike just mentioned, as well as health and wellness offerings and modern safety features when selecting programs at community centers. And ultimately, there is a market opportunity for community centers to engage with millennial parents through targeted outreach, partnerships, and advertising. And ultimately, the importance of user friendly technology solutions to enhance the overall experience for both parents and children. So to go into it, we're not going to go through each question, but we're going to go through some highlighted ones and some of the stats that came out of it. The ebook is available in the resources page of Amelia's website. You can see the whole thing there later. You can download that and distribute it as you like. But we'll start with the first section, opinions and attitudes. Next slide, please, Mike. So the first question that we put out there was, has the availability of local recreation programming or activities become more of a priority for you now that you have children? Which is kind of the crux of this whole thing. And 60% of respondents said that they think it's much more important for local recreation programming or activities to be available now that they have children. The follow-up to this was we wanted to determine what percentage of these consumers felt it was important to participate in local recreation programming or activities for the sake of their family's quality of life and overall health. And as you can see here, in the not important at all or only slightly important category, very low numbers, so that's 10% total. So indicating that 90% of respondents felt that it was fairly important, if not very important, with the majority actually indicating very important. Next slide, please, Mike. We found that 58% of respondents said that local recreation programming was very important to their quality of life, while 63% of respondents said that local recreation programming was very valuable for their families. So people putting high equity in this. And then also less than 10% of respondents said that the presence of recreational programming is only slightly valuable or not valuable at all, which represents a section of millennial parents who might not be aware of all that's available at their local recreation center and who may stand to benefit from a general awareness campaign. So even though these numbers are high and demonstrate that there are a lot of millennial parents out there who are both aware of and enthusiastic of participation, there are still folks out there who are not really aware. And these are the people who we should be sort of targeting or trying to reach out to, trying to get them to participate as well. Next slide, please, Mike.
Yeah.
Or you could.
Yeah, I will wait. I'll jump in a bit at the time.
Okay. We asked in 2024, how many times have you or your partner participated in local recreation programming or activities? And we saw that 37% indicated more than once a week, which is pretty substantial and kind of impressive. Because if you think about things that you feel like doing once a week, or that going to the community center might not always seem like the obvious answer, but for 37% of the people we spoke to, it was. So that's more than once a week, and then we have 25% indicating about once a week. So together, these are impressive numbers. When we asked how many times these parents had participated in local recreation programmings or activities at all, not just in community centers, in 2024, 62% indicated confirmed that they had done so at least once a week. If not more. And when the same question was asked regarding their children's participation, that percentage increased to 68%, which means that these activities are just as important for the parents as they are for the children, which was on a personal level surprising for me, because I think there's an idea that millennial parents would be more enthusiastic about signing their kids up for activities rather than themselves. But from this study, we saw that there is a desire for participation themselves as well as for their children. Mike?
Yeah, what's really, I think, emphasized here is the frequency of people going, right? If you put more than once a week and about once a week together, that's like 50% of people. And those are the people that are going to be signing up for programs, right? Those are going to be signing up for like a continuous thing where they're going on schedule, especially when kids are involved. So that's really going to provide a predictable model of revenue engagement, whatever, for your center. I think the idea as well of a market opportunity is really interesting, right? We spoke about how there is an increase in the level of community focus in the activities. And if you think about where in their lives millennial parents are, by the way, I should mention my credentials here. I am a millennial parent. I have a 2-year-old. So I feel like I'm somewhat engaged with this demographic.
As am I, by the way.
pre-becoming a parent, a lot of the recreational activities that I participated in, you would consider like lifestyle recreation stuff. You know, like yoga studios, classes, etc., where you go. Personally, I don't use Instagram, but for the gram, etc. But now, as I have a child, it's turning to more community focus. Right? I want to be enrolling him in programs with other people, other members of the community. It's a lot more important to me. So my recreation spend, as I'm wanting to spend more year over year, I'm looking to put my patronage in the direction of these community focused stuff, which I think is really interesting. Should we go to the next slide?
Yes, please. And then we asked in which location in which location are you and your family more likely to engage in recreation programming or activities? And we had a huge number of respondents, 79%, say parks as the leading answer, which really sort of underscores the community element. But as does the second most popular answer, which is community center, and then followed closely by things like YMCA's and JCC's, private gyms, yoga studios, aquatic centers, or pools. But this really shows that it's not necessarily so much about the location as much as the community element itself. Can we go to the next slide, please, Mike? So in terms of the types of locations and nature of activities that parents were most interested in, 79% said local parks, and these parents also indicated a preference for team sports, individual sports, general fitness, dance, and creative arts. So we had 75% of respondents saying local parks and 57% saying community centers. This is a breakdown of the previous stat we saw. Next slide, please, Mike. So the overall findings from section 1 was that, again, a majority of respondents prefer facilities with a variety of family activities over those specializing in specific activities, and that insights from the survey emphasized millennial parents' preference for community activities and local recreation programs. Further, the market potential for engagement strategies like outreach and partnerships based on these survey findings.
Yeah, I think that last one, like we're seeing such high numbers, such high percentages of people who want to engage in these activities, that there's not an educational part of outreach needs to be done. Like people are aware that they want to do those things. You've just got to make sure that they're aware that your services are there. They're primed to receive that offering. As a marketer, we would say that they're sort of middle of funnel. They're aware. You just need to convert them. And then the first one is really interesting as well. Like one thing we found in the post-COVID studies, more related to the economy, is that people are looking to spend more time doing recreation, but their wallet is not expanding at the same rate as their desire to partake. So joining several different facilities to do several different activities is not really on people's radar. Offering a membership that allows people to partake in different things in the same facility is a very attractive option for people looking to recreate more, but not necessarily raise that expenditure on their personal budget, whatever you want to call it. So I think that puts community centers, especially local government community centers, in a very good position to capitalize. Next slide.
So continuing findings from section 1, we found again that there's a high participation rate and growing interest, and that indicated a strong market demand for recreational programming. That preferences for activities at local parks and community centers offer guidance for program enhancements and partnership targeting. And further, that the alignment of recreation offerings with millennial parents' needs can lead to increased market demand and community engagement opportunities.
No notes.
So now moving on, we'll go into section 2, which looks at knowledge and use of local facilities. And really the standout stats from this section was that almost 95% of millennial parents, the respondents surveyed, agreed that a community center is valuable to themselves or their family. And while valuable, the concept of value can be kind of vague. I think that number can't be ignored. That communicates both monetary value and also value to, again, quality of life. And that a further 90% of respondents said that the availability of nearby recreational activities helps to reduce overall stress levels, which is really important, I think, in especially in 2025. There's any variety of factors out there that can cause parents or the entire family stress, and the fact that these community centers exist as an outlet for parents and their families to sort of work that out is, I think, is a great thing and not to be ignored.
The wonderful thing about a family unit is that there are many many people whose stress levels you can reduce to reduce the net stress level of the family. So having these activities available for all the family, everyone just remains a lot more calm.
So most of the parents surveyed have had children in grade school and high school between the ages of 6 and 16, which is great because, I mean, when you look at the kids, the age of children who will participate in recreational activities at community centers or elsewhere, this is really kind of the core age of children that you'll see participating in. So that sort of aligns very well. And further, almost 73% of parents said that their children would come home from school to an empty house as they had not yet returned home from work. And this is important because in regards to parents feeling safe about what their children are doing after school, we've also spent a lot of work in the last few months looking at after school activities specifically, and give parents given the option of having their kids go home to just watch TV or whatever, or like toil away for hours online. I think we see that a lot of parents would rather see that their kids are doing something productive, something healthy, presumably, and engaging at the community center. And this stat on the side here demonstrates that 93% of respondents said yes, that they would prefer that their children participated in organized recreational activities while they were busy or still at work, rather than being home alone, which seems obvious, but I think it needs to be remembered. Mike, next slide, please. Thank you. We then asked if a community center existed in your local area, presuming that maybe they don't know that it does, or maybe it doesn't. Would you and your family be likely to visit it in order to participate in recreation programs and activities? And 96% of respondents said yes, which is another huge number, really. So demonstrating that even where a community center doesn't necessarily exist, the desire for there to be one is there, very, very much so. 83% of respondents do have access to local community centers. 75% would rather partake in local activities versus activities offered by for-profit organizations. And 88% believe local municipalities have a duty to provide activities for everyone, for the entire family unit. Mike, did you want to jump in here at any point? Or?
No, I will in a couple slides.
Okay. So all this demonstrates that not only is there a great interest and enthusiasm on the part of millennial parents to participate in recreational activities offered by the local Parks and Rec department, but that these same parents feel that these services are an absolute necessity for themselves and for their families. The response to the final question of this section of the survey puts an exclamation mark on this notion, with almost 94 respondents saying that they believe it is a core factor of their family's quality of life to simply have these kinds of recreational programs and activities available to them. Again, here we ask, are you or your family members more or less likely to participate in an activity if it is run by your local municipality rather than a for-profit organization, which we just demonstrated? And again, that number is 75% saying more likely. We could go on to the next slide if you're good, Mike.
Yep.
So the insights from this section demonstrate and they highlight the significant value that millennial parents place on community centers and organized recreational activities for their children. And with almost unanimous agreement on the importance of these community centers and the positive impact of nearby recreational activities on stress levels, it's clear that there is a strong demand for these services as well.
I think that 94% is really, sorry, I'm just making notes of what's saying. That 94% really underscores a lot of the stats we've been touched on, right? People have been saying it's good for their level of stress, good for their quality of life, important to them, important to their family. Bundle all of those things together, and 94% of people are being like, yeah, this is a positive thing for me, right? It's pretty unambiguous, that statement. I find really interesting that statistic about nonprofits and government, right? Like 75% of people would prefer for that service to be delivered by the public sector or the nonprofit. You got to ask why, right? There's nothing inherently different about an activity class that is run for profit or by a government or an organization. So it says that they're looking for something, right? They're looking for something from that. My bet is that it's to do with that community feel, right? They want to be part of this like thing that's bigger than them when it comes to recreating. And I think that can sort of guide us in how we approach the situation. So like I'm thinking of the member experience of a local community center and how the front desk staff are always smiling and welcoming, and there's always different things going on. It's a positive place to be. And 75% of people are looking for that. So if we can cultivate those experiences beyond just the programming that we're offering and the facilities and whatnot, but that communal experience in everything that we do, I think that's a real winner.
So if you're good, Mike, we can move into the third section of the survey, which covers the preferences for recreation programming and activities. And this is where we get into some sort of real actionable insights from our audience here today. This is maybe the most valuable part of the survey in terms of some of the questions and answers we got here. So if we want to go into the next slide here. So in section 3, we found that millennial parents value key aspects in choosing recreational programming programs at community centers. There's a high agreement on benefits like healthy living, connection, and inclusivity. Cleanliness, easy sign-up processes, health and safety are also crucial factors for parents. And there's also a strong emphasis put on seamless sign-up processes to address past challenges that they may have faced when it came time to registering for themselves or their children. So next slide, please, Mike. Further, this section demonstrates the importance of software features for easy signups, and that there is a preference for online registration and user-friendly interfaces versus the old method of lining up for a long time, doing first come first serve signups at community centers and that kind of thing. Also, that community centers should prioritize user-friendly software, kind of like our own, for millennial parents. And that enhancing customer experience to meet evolving needs of modern families. So we'll go right into some of the stats from this section. The opening question of the opening question of this section establishes that 89% of respondents agree that community centers promote healthy living. That 90% agree that community centers foster belonging and connection, and that 90% also feel that community centers benefit all members of the immediate family. Again, based on some of the numbers we've looked at already, these numbers might seem, these statistics might seem somewhat obvious at this point, but the high number, the numbers themselves, I think, are what's important here. And it also stands to reason that if this is what residents think community centers are able to offer, then this is reputable, and that they should strive to live up to these standards at all times. The final question asked in this third section is, what is important in selecting a facility for programs and activities? And we sort of just touched on this, but we see that all factors will rank pretty high in this, but the top one with almost 100% was quality of staff. And that we also see inclusivity and community values being reflected at the community center itself is also a high ranking factor, as well as social impact and easy sign-up process, as we spoke of earlier. And that goes along with things like cleanliness, up there at 98%, and modern facilities.
Let me go back on this one before I get a couple of other ones.
Sure.
So I think this I always think that the safety statistic and things like this is not really worth commenting on. Yes, of course, we want things to be safe, and that's very important. But what's interesting is the quality of staff is even higher than that, right? Like to have well-trained people who are engaged with the community and welcoming people seems very important to people. Also, inclusivity and community values, again, tying in with that experience. People are not willing to compromise on convenient location and hours. Obviously, like it doesn't work for your schedule, it doesn't work for their schedule. But still, 94% of people, right? So nearly 9.5 out of every 10 people are saying that modern facilities and easy sign-up process are important to them when it comes to picking where they're going for their programs and activities.
And I know that last slide said final question, but here we here we have another question from this section, which was, how much do you agree with the following statements? The first statement being, community centers promote healthy living, 89% agree with that. Community centers foster belonging connection, 90% agree with that. And community centers benefit all members of my immediate family. Again, we had 90% of respondents agreeing to that. That was a stat that was reflected in the first slide of this section. You could just jump to the next one, Mike. So, conclusion, and this is these are sort of concluding insights from the entirety of this research project. And again, sorry to sound a little repetitious at this point, but we've covered all this, but we found that millennial parents do show strong interest in local recreation programs, that a majority confirm frequent participation with an intent to increase that engagement in the immediate future, if not the current and present. That there is a desire for diverse activities and family-friendly activities, that there is high trust in community centers for promoting healthy living and connections, that there is an emphasis amongst millennial parents on cleanliness, easy sign-up process, health, and safety, and that there is a need for user-friendly software to streamline registration and payments.
I mean, it's all there on the slide, right? In terms of offering up a concluding statement. I just think it's like I said, important to consider. We have this demographic of millennial parents that is probably the very fast-growing demographic, right? People are changing the stage of their life and their consumption habits, but also their expectations, right? And you're bringing a bunch of people who, in their young life went through the pandemic and are sort of coming back out and trying to figure out their new place in the world. And recreation is a big part of that, and community-based recreation. So it's a big opportunity. It's a big demographic that you want to try and harness. And hopefully from this study, you're a little clearer on what the priorities of that demographic are as we try to tackle them.
And if I could just jump onto what you said there just now, Mike, I think the fact that, we didn't really want to dwell on sort of the pandemic element, but I mean, I think the strong levels of enthusiasm shown through this survey are even more impressive when you consider that we're not really that far removed from that pandemic, right? That was less than 5 years ago. So the fact that people have kind of sprung back from that and are so willing and enthusiastic to participate in community activities at recreation centers or elsewhere, in light of a global pandemic that occurred less than 5 years ago, is really remarkable, actually.
I totally agree. So I'm not seeing any questions, which I assume means that our project is nicely self-contained and perfectly articulated by the two of us. Walter, but if there are any questions from anyone, please drop them in the chat or in the Q&A function, and Walter and I would love to discuss them. Or feel free to take the time back and go about your day. Whilst we're waiting for people to drop in any questions, Walter, do you want to talk about the next study that we're doing?
So yeah, Mike hinted at it before. Mike's a big fan of spoilers. We are we are currently, and it's a great follow up to this one actually, because now we're sort of trying to figure out what the specific blockers are for participation. Not specifically amongst millennial parents this time, but amongst sort of a broader swatch of the population. And again, going out to markets across the U.S. And we're again looking at what's stopping people from attending, and be it factors related to the community center itself, be it economic factors, social factors, or even personal factors such as personal wellness or anxiety issues. And hopefully, and the survey is actually currently out there, and we're currently collecting responses for that right now. But we're really looking to see that what amongst this enthusiasm, amongst all these people that are enthusiastic of participating in community center activities, for those who aren't, why, and what can be done to sort of make those blockers go away, to make things easier for people to participate in the community center, what they're looking for to make it easier for them to participate, and what would get them engaging more. So, and that'll be out sometime next month.
Some as yet undetermined deadline for that. It's all about uncovering your blind spots, right? Like the goal here is, if you're running let's say that your programming, it's been running a certain way for a great many years and it works, right? Like you all know what works for your community, but there are always people who don't engage, right? You never engage everybody. So to look at what the potential reasons might be there, what the blind spots are, so you can incorporate that into master plans and whatnot going forward. Seems like a nice thing for us to do. And if you are joining us from California or from Texas, well, for the first time, we're actually going to focus in on different areas as well. So there'll be a global US one. Then we'll do a California specific piece of research and a Texas specific piece of research. If you are from those states, look out for that. It's going to be very hyper relevant to you. So we have a question from Israel Nunez. Apologies, I may have missed this at the start, but what was the respondent pool used for this? Do you want to talk to the selection criteria that we used, Walter?
Right, yeah. So there's two parts to this question. What was the respondent pool used for this? So we surveyed roughly 250 Americans, and that 250 people from across America. And again, we were looking to speak to millennial parents. So we kept the age range, I believe, from around 20 to early 40s as what currently constitutes a millennial. Does that answer that question?
Feel free to ask a follow-up if you want, Israel, or otherwise we will.
And like things like that are more fleshed out in the actual ebook itself. So there's more details on that in the actual ebook. I just didn't want to bombard people with every single detail from the ebook and the specification.
I mean, we could do this again and just like read through the ebook page by page for people.
I could. That'll be, and if there's an interest in that, it could be like some sort of ASMR activity.
No, what we will do though, so as usual, we will send the recording to everybody who registered for the webinar, whether or not you attended. But we will also include a link to that ebook in there as well, so that you can get that report yourselves. So keep your eye open for that. It should be with you in the next 24, 48 hours, and we'll get that out. But thanks for joining us today. I had a blast. Thanks to Walter for all the work putting this together, presenting.
Thanks to Mike for being more eloquent and better presenting than I.
Thanks to this whiteboard here for existing and provide. I don't know. Thanks to everyone. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and we will see you soon. Bye bye.